Hi there! Let me take you back to the year 1958 and the film King Creole.
Well, I heard the news. That's good to rockin' tonight. Well, I heard the news. That's good to rockin' tonight. King Creole.
Hi there, welcome to your Elvis Guide, your weekly show on Elvis Presley. This week we're gonna do a show on King Creole, the 1958 movie, the movie that was the final movie before Elvis was drafted in the US Army. And also it's 60 years ago that Elvis went into the studio to record the soundtrack, the great soundtrack of this film, King Creole. It was the final film Elvis filmed before he went into the army. Of course, he had his debut on film in 1956 with Love Me Tender. Well, you could see if you watch the movie that he was still searching. And in 1957, he produced his first film in color, Loving You, with Hal Wallace and Paramount. And I think, well, he did a great teddy bear scene, that classic, in that film, but Elvis wasn't an established actor, not yet. The third film Elvis filmed was Jailhouse Rock. Now we're talking business. Jailhouse Rock was a film about a youngster who was rebellious and eventually ended up in jail. And that says it all about the teenage spirit of the time, because youngsters were breaking with the generation of adults that, well, were the establishment. And King Creole is a little bit of the same, basically. Elvis again is a rebellious boy, Danny Fisher. In the film, you could basically see how youngsters struggle with their parents. Well, let's take a look at the trailer, and you will get an impression of the film and the story. Let's take a look at the trailer.
You know it's gone, 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 jumping like a catfish on a pole, yeah. You know it's gone, 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 and a hip-shaking King Creole. Yeah, no. You know it's gone, 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 hip-shaking King Creole.
You're a pretty fancy performer, ain't you, kid?
Now you know what I do for an encore.
Now he crowns his meteoric rise to fame with a fiery burst of dramatic power as hard-loving, hard-hitting Danny Fisher, who sang his way up from the gutters of lusty, brawling New Orleans.
I would never treat you badly, like a castaway broken toy. Love, doll, I love you madly. Let me be your lover boy.
I've stacked chairs and bottles and swept the floor up of every joint on Bourbon Street. It's gotten so I look longer at a dame with clothes on and one without. I'm not a hoodlum, but I am a hustler. I've had to be for a very simple reason.
Young dream, young dream, young dream.
My heart is filled with your dreams.
Dream. And I'm longing to share them all with you.
There were to be many women in Danny's young life, but only two who really counted. Nellie, who knew too little about love.
I've never been to a place like this before. But I want to see you again. Is this the way?
Ronnie, who knew too much.
Ronnie, what are you doing here with this man? How'd you get into this?
How do you get out?
Fighting for the upper hand, the devil-driven temper that was his pathway to destruction.
Get out of here, Ryan! Don't come back! Louisiana, baby, tells you, stay a while. Yeah! Live it up, yeah! Love it up, yeah! Some style, way down in New Orleans.
So Elvis was in a movie finally where he could play a character, a dramatic role. He was directed by Michael Curtis, the Hungarian director who also directed Casablanca. And well, it had everything to be a huge success. It was a great story. A Stone for Danny Fisher by Harold Robbins. So Elvis finally got the role he deserved. And well, of course, every movie needs a soundtrack. On January 15, 1958, Elvis went to the radio recorder studio in Hollywood to record the soundtrack for King Creole. And the very first song he recorded was the title track, King Creole. But it's a different version than the version we know nowadays because of the famous soundtrack. And it was released in the 90s, somewhere in the 90s, I think, mid-90s. On this CD, Elvis hits like never before. It's a great compilation from the Essential Elvis series. It's one of the first series, I think, Hans Jørgensen, the Danish producer, was involved with, and well, he made a smashing difference. Probably will do a whole show on that, but this was also in the I think from 1988 he was involved with all kinds of Elvis releases, and the one topped the other, and then we got the Follow That Dream series, and of course the very first take, or it's not the first take, it's take 18, but from the first recording session, the first version of King Creole. I will play a little bit for you. You will spot the difference.
There's a man in New Orleans who plays a rock and roll, a guitar man with a great big soul. He lays down a beat like a ton of coal. He goes by the name of King Creole. You know he's gone, 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 jumping like a catfish on a pole. There's a man in New Orleans who plays a rock and roll. He's a guitar man with a great big soul. He lays down a beat like a ton of coal. He goes by the name of King Creole. You know he's gone, 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 jumping like catfish on a pole. Yeah. You know he's gone, 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 and
hip shaking King Creole. When the king starts to do it, it's as good as done. He holds his guitar like a Tommy gun. He starts to growl without any throat. He bends a string and that's all she wrote. You know it's good. You know it's gone. That hip shaking King Creole. King Creole. He sings a song about a grown at home. He sings a song about a jelly roll. He sings a song about a pork and greens. He sings some blues about a New Orleans. Jumping like a cat. Yeah. You know it's gone. That hip shaking King Creole. Something evil and he plays something sweet. No matter how late you gotta get up on your feet. When he gets a rockin' beaver, baby, heaven sings. He don't stop playing till his guitar breaks. You know he's gone. Jumping like a catfish. Oh, yeah. You know he's gone. That hip shaking King Creole. Yeah, go. You know he's gone. Hip shaking King Creole.
Okay, so the very next day Elvis was back in the studio, January 16, 1958. And he recorded Dixieland Rock to start with. And, well, it's almost amazing how Elvis could switch from a rocker, Dixieland Rock, to a very delicate song, Love a Doll. It's almost a lullaby, but it's done beautifully. And what you see here is a single from Germany in the original company sleeve. It's Dixieland Rock paired with Love a Doll. That was a single over there in Germany. And on the single you could hear the version of Love a Doll without the overdubs from the Jordanaires. So let's listen to that.
You're the cutest love doll that I ever did see. Let me tell you, love doll, you were meant for me. From the first time that I saw you, how I fell for your cuddly charms. Love doll, I'm crazy for you. Let me rock you in my arms. I am so glad I found you. Never thought dollies came full grown. I'm gonna tie a ribbon around you, wrap you up and take you home. I would never treat you badly, like a castaway broken toy. Love a doll, I love you madly. Let me be your lover boy. I'm so glad I found you. Never thought dollies came full grown. I'm gonna tie a ribbon around you, wrap you up and take you home.
Sings beautiful,
I would
huh?
never treat you badly, like a castaway broken toy. Love a doll, I love you madly. Let me be your lover boy. Love a doll, love a doll. Love a doll, love a doll. Love a doll, love a doll. Let me be your lover boy. Love a doll, love a doll. Love a Let me be your lover boy. Let me be your lover boy. Let me be your lover boy.
Oh, that's so pretty. Well, of course, the album became a smash hit, but the album didn't end up #1 in the charts. It just got stuck at #2. So the album got stuck at #2, but I think it's one of the classic albums of Elvis Presley. It's probably one of the best soundtrack albums he recorded. King Creole, that had some great compositions on it. Of course, the title track, King Creole. And there were a number of Lieber-Stoller compositions. One of them is Trouble. And Trouble is also a great track that it probably got world fame some 10 years later in the NBC 1986 TV comeback special, when Elvis opened with Guitar Man and Trouble, and he really looked nasty in the camera with doing the lines, "If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place." Well, you believe that instantly. But King Creole also was a little bit of a mixed bag. Most of Elvis' soundtracks were. And one of the songs that was recorded the very same day as that first version of King Creole, that's the one I played from the CD, is Crawfish. Well, it's on the album, it's not really a remarkable track, basically, but if you see it in the film, the extended version, well, I got goosebumps when I first saw it, and each time I see that particular song, well, I think this is so great. Please take some time to listen to the great vocals of Kitty White as well. She paves the way for Elvis to shine in this great blues song. And I think this is, if you could pick a song that had a blend that had everything from the South, probably this that Elvis liked in music, this song comes very close. It's, in a way, it's even spiritual, although it isn't. The extended version of Crawfish with the great vocals of Kitty White.
But none are sweet as your lips. I got cocoa steaming hot, and it comes straight from the pot. I cooked and stirred it all today for your pretty girls to take away.
sugar bright. Put a big long hook on a big long pole, and I pulled Mr. Crawfish out of his hole. Crawfish, crawfish. See, I got 'em, see the size, stripped and cleaned before your eyes. Sweet meat, look, fresh and ready to cook. Crawfish, crawfish. Now take Mr. Crawfish in your hand. He's gonna look good in your frying pan. If you fry him crisp or you boil him right, he'll be sweeter than sugar with every bite. Crawfish, crawfish. See, I got 'em, see the size, stripped and cleaned before your eyes. Sweetly look, fresh and ready to cook. Crawfish, crawfish. See, I got 'em, see the size.
Next week, baby.
Hey, Songbird, you come here tonight and I'll dance with you free.
No, you don't. You gotta pay me.
Danny, come on, your breakfast. Come on.
So right after Elvis had recorded the album, King Creole, filming started in New Orleans, and Elvis was mighty popular back then, in the 50s. So there were huge crowds surrounding the film set of young girls and wanting autographs and, well, whatever. So Michael Curtis had to tighten up the security in order to get the set free of people. Well, he managed miraculously, because I think King Creole is one of the great films, and it's almost feels like a cinema noir film with the black and white and even the sometimes grim black scenes in it that sometimes make it depressing and but it's really nicely done. The contrast to films from the mid-60s is, well, there's so big contrast when there were cardboard sets that you could see moving when somebody walked by, and, well, that was cheaply done, but this was so excellent. And, well, Elvis had to start filming King Creole because on Christmas Eve of 1957 he got the letter, the invitation to join the US Army. Well, Paramount was already working on King Creole and had spent some $300,000 in preparation of the film. Immediately requested suspension of Elvis getting drafted, because, well, they wanted to finish the movie. And right after Christmas, Elvis also wrote a letter to the board, and the board decided that Elvis could make King Creole. So that's a great thing. But the funny thing is that when Elvis was allowed to make King Creole, of course, the establishment said, oh, that's not right, he should be drafted immediately. And, well, there was a guy at the board, and he said, well, I don't understand this. Regularly or normally people always get this suspension, but because it is Elvis Presley, they don't want him to make that movie. So that all also tells us how complicated Elvis' position was in the, well, American society back then. He was a rock and roll star, and he was a bit of a threat to society. He was a threat to probably the older generation and some of their values. So he should be drafted in the army, and well, he did, and he came back, and well, he made records again, and we know what happened. But I think King Creole is a landmark film. It's a landmark record, and one of the landmarks is that it's his last production before he was drafted. And some people say that Elvis never came back a rocker. I tend to disagree, but he came back, and he did change, and he did change his attitude towards the songs he picked, the repertoire, well, everything. So that's 1955, 60 years ago, and we're still listening to these great records. That's it for now. If you like my channel, please subscribe and, well, give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you next week with another episode. Bye.
Elvis has left the building. I've told you absolutely straight up to this point, you know that he has left the building. He left the stage and went out the back with the policeman, and he is now gone from the building.